Hey guys, how's it going? It is a gorgeous, gorgeous day in the garden. The weather has been so spectacular the last couple of days. The temperature has been perfect, and this is my favorite time in the garden. When it's just a beautiful day in the garden and everything is really starting to come to life. Oh man, let me see if I can capture this. That fountain has become kind of a little hub for animals. The finch love it, the doves love it, the blue jays love it, and the hummingbirds absolutely love it. It's so much fun to watch all of these little animals, all the birds going to it. It's been so much fun. Adding water to your garden, I think, is so important. It really just draws in all of the birds, and I just love having the birds in the garden. So having that little Amazon fountain has been so amazing. It's been probably one of the best things that we've purchased. We purchased some really good things, but that fountain is definitely like on the top of my list of favorite things that we have bought online. Birds love it. It's sat out all winter for us, but we don't get freezing temperatures. So I think if you got freezing temperatures, it might be one that I would bring in. It's really, really lightweight, so anyone really should be able to pick it up and move it, but bring it out in the springtime. I'm just watching this hummingbird just bathe at the very top, at the very top of the bird bath. I'm calling it a bird bath, at the very top of the fountain. It's been amazing. So my plan for today was to come out here, show you guys some things that are looking really good. I'm about to film a garden tour also. There's just some things that I'm just having a hard time waiting to show you guys. Things are just changing basically daily at this point in the garden. And then I also have a planter up front that I want to refresh. They're a dwarf Kimberly queen fern, so they stay much smaller, and they have these beautiful green fronds, but it's been a couple years now, and I think I'm just over it on the front porch. I want something that has a little bit more color and style to it or whatever, so we're gonna take it out, and I've got a beautiful metal planter. I also have a garden Oya that I'm gonna put in it because we can't run irrigation to it, and so that'll help buy some time in between watering, especially during the growing season. We tend to forget that one container. So my plan is to pot that up today and show you guys some of the beautiful things in the garden. So I thought we would start with some of the beautiful things that are back here. So back here, this is what was supposed to be the cut flower garden, and I just am not using the space the way that I should be using it. I don't know, it just doesn't speak to me. So we're gonna be doing a full rework, but there's some really beautiful flowers out here. So I wanted to show you guys them. This right here is the Flavorette Honey Apricot, and I love roses that look like this. They've got these like soft outside full petals, and then the inside is just like jam-packed with flower petals. You're supposed to be able to eat this one. I tried it. I mean, I wouldn't like snack on it. It definitely had kind of like a honey-ish flavor, honey adjacent. Let me try this. Yeah. Very, very green. It tastes very green. I could see like on a cake or whatever, it'd be perfect for a decoration. Would I like feed it to my guest? Probably not. Do I think it's absolutely beautiful? Yes. I love this color so much. I think it's absolutely perfect. It's got a decent amount of blooms on it. And this is one that I moved. I just love massive petal counts. I just think it's so pretty. The blooms are a little smaller, and I don't know if that's because I did end up transplanting this one and it did go into a bit of shock. You can see I've got a dead stem right there, but it did come up with a whole bunch of new stalks right here, and it did produce blooms. So I'm really happy with that. Behind that, I have my sweet peas. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that they bloomed and that they're just throwing out blooms. I believe this is the chocolate streamer, and the stems on it, so long. Sweet peas smell so good. They're one of my favorites in the garden. Very magical. It is definitely way too late, especially if you're in my area. Sweet peas need to be grown in the winter time. I actually learned this from from Janie's mom. She told me that I needed to sow them in the winter time and plant them because a couple years ago I had planted them and I had done it in very, very late winter, but I need to do them like, I think I did these like, it might have been like October or November when I planted these, and I just threw some seeds in the ground and I let them grow up right here, and they've done absolutely beautiful. I had a couple starts. I think the ones that were in that bed, I might have just did the seeds. And I think these ones might have been starts. I can't quite remember. But they were started months and months and months ago. And then that's how I get lots of beautiful blooms this time of year, because they can handle some frost. But look at the blooms on these. I believe these are the chocolate streamers. So pretty. I love these. I didn't do a very good job at staking them, as you can tell, but at this point, who cares? And then if we come around this way, I have another one. And this is called like Bix or something like that. I can't quite remember. So pretty. I love this one. I love how it's white with just the tinges of purple. And then this one, I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's one that maybe reverted or did something weird, but they're all, I think, supposed to look like that. And the smell is absolutely amazing, especially midday. I think I'm going to try to harvest some of these and bring them in today. But the stems on these guys, I mean, look how long those are. Perfect for flower arranging. I've got some, I think this is Nigella right here. It's got to be Nigella. I'm like 95% sure that's Nigella. I've only successfully grown Nigella one time, and it did not look this good. This is also one that I planted at the same time that I did my sweet peas, cool season crop. And then over here, I've got my Status, and the Status is looking so good. I personally love Status. One of my sisters hates Status so much. Oh, look. This is a Snapdragon. Why does it look like that? That is so funny. You're not supposed to look like that. Okay, well, I have a Snapdragon right here, and I don't know why she looks that way. That is so pretty, though. I'm really liking that. That looks nothing like any Snapdragon I've ever seen in my entire life before. This whole row is yellow. This whole row is peach, and this one looks like it's also going to be peach. That is so cool. Love that. Status looks great. I love Status. I feel like Status is either one that you love or you hate. My sister, who used to be a florist, she hates Status just because it was one that I think was like overused at her work. I like them. I use them as filler plants. I just think they're perfect in flower arrangements, just to like tuck in and get a little pop of white in there. I mean, they're nothing to like go shout off the rooftop about, but I think as a little filler plant, I think that they're perfect. You guys, my roses are looking so good. This right here is a pink Iceberg rose. It's already been covered in aphid. I will pop up on the screen what we ended up using to spray for aphids, because aphids take this one. This one blooms usually first for me, and this one also is usually year-round covered in aphids. So this one, huge aphid attractant, but I still think it's totally worth it. So pink Iceberg rose, the pollinators love this one, and it blooms nonstop for me. And then right here, have to show you this. It would be a crime if I didn't. This here is Claire Austin. Claire Austin is a climbing rose, and she gets quite large, but her blooms, I don't think you guys can tell. They're kind of a buttery white color. They're so pretty. This one's obviously a faded one. It's dropping petals. But Claire Austin, she is spectacular in the garden. If you have a big space for her, she's a must-have. These blooms all look quite white, but she is more of a soft, like, she's a buttery white color. She's got a little tinge of yellow to her. And she blooms and blooms and blooms, and then she'll go through a little lull where she doesn't bloom, and then she'll bloom, 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 and then she'll go through a little bit of a lull. But, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a stunning one. I love these really full blooms. These ones are my favorite. Anything that's full. Oh, here, I think you can see some of the yellow here. So see the yellow? Usually all of her blooms have a bit more yellow like this has. So I don't know why she's so white, but usually she's a bit more yellow. You can see this one is definitely more yellow. That's usually what all of her blooms look like. Beautiful rose. And then I wanted to give you guys a peek back here. I posted this view over on Instagram, and everyone was in love with it, and I'm super in love with it too. So I've got my sea of Heuchera right here, lots of different colors, and it has turned out so beautiful. They all came back for me. They all came back so strong. I have a hydrangea right there. That is the Endless Summer hydrangea. I planted it like 4 years ago. Full shade. It's the only way that this hydrangea survives for me. It's got one bloom right now, but it has a ton more coming. And then right here is a snowball viburnum that's unfortunately at the end of its blooms, which is fine because now the hydrangea is going to take over. And we just had the snowball viburnum, and me being in a zone 9 Northern California, Usually snowball viburnums don't do well in a zone 9 at all. A lot of people say we can't really grow them very well. But I grow this one in full shade, and it does so well in full shade. So if you're in a hot zone, like I'm growing it under some birch trees, and I think that's the only way to really get this thing to grow is under shade. So snowball viburnum, shade, and you can totally have one. Lots of water though. And the last rose that I want to show you guys before we go up front is the Coco Loco. Oh my goodness, I love Coco Loco. I have it in tree form right here, so it's a little standard, and it'll bloom, and then I'll have to cut it back, and then it'll bloom. Tree forms are kind of tricky because you have to kind of be on top of keeping them in shape throughout the season. So you let them bloom and you cut them back, but this is a aged bloom. So pretty, beautiful pink silver color, kind of purple. And then I think this one is the most aged right here. And then this one is one that's starting to age. Isn't that so cool? I love the centers of it. Let me show you guys one that is pretty fresh, and it has the most beautiful color. So I love the center of it. I love the swirling of the petals in it. And this color, it's a creamy, like blush brown color. So beautiful. I love the color of it. It's a beautiful rose, and it's got plenty more blooms to come. So highly recommend Coco Loco if you're wanting something that like has big, beautiful blooms on it. Gorgeous. Coco Loco for sure. Also, so I don't turn this into a full garden tour, look at my alliums. How exciting. They're getting ready to pop. Isn't that awesome? I cannot show you everything because then this video becomes a full garden tour. And that's not what this video is supposed to be. This video is supposed to just be me showing you just a couple little pretty things. And then we're gonna go up to the front and get some things planted. And that's what this video needs to be. But there are so many things that I wanna show you guys. I wanna show you all of the roses. I wanna show you my alliums that are blooming. It's so hard not to, but I want to film it for a garden tour. Let's go up front. I'll show you guys the planter that I have, and then I'll show you guys the plants that are going to go in it. So this is the selection that I have. It's very green. I'm also going to be going in with this cypress right here. So let me show you guys what I've decided to add into this container. So first is going to be at least 3. There'll probably end up maybe being more, but I'm thinking 3 of this green Mondo Grass. This one's called Bad Hair Day. It gets, it's really probably pretty close to maturity at this size. It doesn't get super tall, but it will just kind of spread throughout the container. And I'm really wanting to do eventually just a container that just has just this in it. I think that would be really, really pretty. So this is definitely a shade lover, morning sun only if it's gonna get sun, but bright indirect light, it'll be very happy. But I love it. I love the I don't know, the airiness of it. It just feels very cottagey, very kind of like loose and free. Hardy down to -20. I'm not exactly sure which zone that is, but hardy down to -20. The next one that we're going to be doing, this is the Fairytrail Fresco Hydrangea. And I don't always do the best with hydrangeas. They do mediocre here at best. But this one I'm really excited to try. There is the Fairytale Bride Hydrangea. This one's called Fresco. This one gets pink or blue blooms depending on your soil acidity. And so the Fairytale Bride is all white. This one is new for next year. And this one blooms on old wood. So if you're gonna grow this one, you need to just put it in a place where you can just kind of like set it and forget it. It's not one that you should be just planting and then having to prune on. You really just need to be able to put it somewhere and just let it do its thing. Hardy in zones 6 through 9. So I'm assuming that it's gonna be a bit more tolerant to the heat if it's growing zones 9. And it's also supposed to be one of the earliest blooming hydrangeas. I don't think I'll get a single bloom off of it this year, just because it's the way it came, it was really cut back really quite hard. And so all of this growth that you're seeing is brand new growth on it. So I'm not expecting a single bloom off of it. I would be shocked if I got anything this year. I think I would have at least started to see them forming, but I'm not seeing anything. So this is one, like I said, plant it, forget it, leave it alone. It gets about 4.5 feet tall and 5.5 feet wide. So quite the spreader, low growing. Well, for a hydrangea, it's low growing. 4.5 feet tall is quite wide. I'm gonna be growing it in a container for a couple years. Then right here, this is one of my favorites. I've got Creeping Jenny. All of these are gonna be perennials in my growing zone. The Creeping Jenny is probably an annual in a lot of people's zone, but I love Creeping Jenny. I think they're very, very beautiful. This is definitely one that wants a bit more sun, but I'm not growing it in a very sunny location, so I know it does well in some shade, so this will probably be pushing this one to its limit. But I love how bright green it is. Like, it's a dark green, and then the new growth is a bit more bright, and then it just kind of cascades and spills down really, really beautifully. So this is going to be kind of like a filler plant. This is going to be a spiller. This will just be kind of like tucking in to fill in any holes. And then I also have this cypress right here. So this is one a couple years ago. I cut it into a spiral. I actually pulled it out of the landscape, cut it into a spiral, and I have neglected it hard ever since. It rarely gets the proper water that it needs. I haven't pruned on it since, because it hasn't grown since I pruned on it, because it doesn't get water, it doesn't get fertilizer. It's sat in this black container in the full sun. The black container has just cooked. I'm sure it's cooking the roots. I actually just moved it more into the shade. But I took this and I trimmed it up. You can see there's some dead spots, but that's all right. We all have our issues. Anyways, she's gonna be beautiful. She'll be gorgeous. It's gonna go in that metal container right there. I gotta pull off the sticker, but I just kind of thought like some like height right here would be really pretty. I'm gonna tuck it so it's back in the corner. Yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be a very green container, just a very soft container. And like I said, there's probably not gonna be any blooms off of that this year. So I'm really not even gonna be worried about it, but it'll just be green and it'll be really, really nice by the front door. And then I'm also, because we're so bad about watering it, I'm also gonna go in with one of these. This is a garden Oya. This one's from Back to the Roots. I picked it up off of Amazon. If you don't know about these, it's a very old traditional way of keeping plants watered and not letting things dry out. So this is a unglazed terracotta pot basically. And you can just go in with terracotta pots and you can just plug the hole at the bottom of them. But this one, you put it into the soil, you bury it to the top of its neck. So it's going to be buried all the way. You fill it up with water and it just slowly releases water into the soil as it needs it. So your plants don't ever dry out. So this container that's up here, we're terrible about watering it. Everything that's on our property is on drip irrigation except for that container. And everything has to be on irrigation here. And so this is going to help buy us a couple days. So this will make it so that way, if we forget to water a day or two in the heat of summer, it'll be fine, because this is always going to be full of water and it'll just slowly leak the water out of it. It'll just kind of like, I don't know, it's really, really interesting. Very cool. I have them for my houseplants. I've got smaller ones that I use for my houseplants, and so far they've been absolutely amazing. So it's got a little cork on the top. You just pull the cork off, fill this up with water, and then it slowly seeps out. I'm excited to give it a try this year. This is my first time using one for outdoor anything. And so it's going to be a really cool experiment to see if it really helps me keep plants alive better up here on the front porch. So let me show you guys the container and then we'll go to the grass and we'll go ahead and get this all planted up. So on the front porch, this container right here, it's quite large. It's a galvanized container. I thought it was so cool. It's got my name on it because we picked it up at a antique place at this like antique fair. How much did I pay for it? I think I paid $75 for it. She wanted $78. I paid $75 for it. It was a lot of money still, but quite cool. I'm really happy with it. And I think it's a really, really good size, unique shape, very cottagey, very free. And then I'll have the tree, which will give some height to it, which I'm really excited about. So let's go ahead and pull this down and we'll get it all filled up. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill this up with soil. I'm not gonna run any irrigation to it because we're not gonna be connecting it to irrigation. I'm going to be using my last bag of the Happy Frog potting soil. If you've been hanging out for a minute, I am trying to switch over from using soils that have peat in them, and this has peat in it. It's just terrible for the environment to use peat because it's a non-renewable energy source, yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to switch away from using it. I just happen to have this last bag, so we're gonna fill it up with this. This is my favorite potting soil I've ever used in my entire life, and still is my favorite. I'm just trying to do the right thing and get away from peat. So we are going to be using it just because it is the last bag that I have and it is my favorite. And these plants will thrive in that. And I'm not gonna be going in with any fertilizer for the reason that I am too lazy to run to the back all the way to the shed and go grab the fertilizer. So we're not gonna go in with fertilizer today just for that reason. I just am lazy. It's gonna get water soluble fertilizer during the week, and if I choose to fertilize it with a growing tab, I'll throw a growing tab in there. But today, we're just going in with soil. We're doing it the lazy way. What do you think, ma'am? You ready? Yep, she's ready. Well, I think that Freya approves. What do you think, ma'am? Do you like it? She's always on the front porch and she loves to watch all the traffic drive by. So this is her usual hangout if she's allowed up here. Anyways, can you come over here so I can show everybody? You want to come here? You want to move? Come here. Anyways, these front pots look really, really good. Well, she's gonna lay down here, she's decided. I'm happy with these ones. I am going to end up getting rid of these though, and I need to replace them with something else. This was supposed to just be like a year-long thing. These are gold mop thread branch cypress or something like that. These are from Isley. I bought them 2 years ago, I think, at this point, maybe over a year ago at this point. I think they're really pretty. I love the color of them. I love the new growth, how bright it is. I love the pop of brightness up here. But I think I do want something a little bit taller. And these are definitely root bound in these containers. These guys get quite large, and so I knew that they wouldn't be able to live long inside these containers. But that's okay. This is a different day project. And then up here, it's so nice. I love the pop of the Creeping Jenny right there. That is so pretty. And I have Creeping Jenny in the front window boxes here. And so it'll be nice because they'll tie into each other. Let me show you guys this really quick. So I've gotten a couple questions because I'm using a new fertilizer, and I think the new fertilizer is working absolutely fabulously. So this is full sun, morning to the very end of the day. I have 3 Super Tunia Vista bubblegum. I've got alyssum, I've got salvia, Creeping Jenny, and Dichondra Silver Falls in these containers. And I wintered over all of this from last year. So all of these came from last year, and I'm really happy because that saves me a good chunk of money that I don't have to replace any of this. I planted these in the fall time last year, and now they're totally taking off in the springtime, and I don't have any other petunias that are this large. So I'm really happy that I was able to winter these guys over, and now I can't wait for them to just be a mound of pink. And then I've got this, like, I think it's Rockin' the Blues salvia or something like that. And so And so I'm really excited because I'll have a little bit of blue and then the silver from the dichondra and the creeping Jenny spilling down is gonna be so pretty. Last year, both of them reached the ground. And so this year I'm gonna try to keep them a little more in check if I can. Anyways, oh yeah, that died, by the way. That didn't make it at all. I cut it back hard. I had shade over it. She didn't make it. Such a bummer. I'm gonna see if I can order myself another one. We'll see. They're really hard to find. So that is kind of a bummer. I was really hoping it would make it. Up here, which is the project that we did today, and I got distracted. I love this. I love the pop of green up here. And I think that the cypress is gonna be so much happier now that it's going to get regular water and the soil will stay quite wet. I didn't water this in just because the soil that I put in here was sopping wet. It was like heavy wet. So I didn't want to water any of it in. We'll probably water it in a day or two when it can dry out just a little bit, but it was really wet, like almost to the point of like kind of gross wet. Anyways, the creeping Jenny up front, that is going to be so gorgeous. I'm gonna have to keep that in check. And then I've got the garden oil right behind it, which you just fill up with water. If I wanted to, I could probably come through and spray paint this cork black so it kind of disappears, because I don't really love that. Eventually, I'm sure it will disappear with the Mondo Grass that's in there. And I'm really liking the Mondo Grass. It just kind of feels like a little like peaceful break in there. I've got 4 of them. And then the hydrangea. Hydrangea obviously isn't gonna live in here forever. It can't, it gets way too big. Eventually, it'll have to go into a much larger container by itself, or it'll have to go in the landscape. And then same for the Italian Cypress. I could probably keep the Italian Cypress for many years inside the container, just keeping it pruned as a spiral. I obviously need to come through and give it a little bit of love. I'm hoping now that it's going to get regular water and it's got some nutrients in the soil that it'll perk back up. But I do think that is going to be really nice. I love having a little spiral up here. And that Italian Cypress is one that I pulled from the landscape. It was just gonna go into the landfill. I bought that years ago, and it was before I really understood plants a lot. And so I bought it, not understanding how big it was gonna get. And then I realized that's not what I wanted in the garden. And so I had taken it out. One of them died. I took one of them out. I took this one out, and I decided, let me just try training it into a spiral, see if I can do it. And that was one of the first topiaries that I did. And it turned out quite well. And then it got neglected, and it's been neglected for probably 1.5 years, 2 years at this point. So I do feel a little bit guilty about that, but it will thrive and it will do so much better in a container that's going to get regular water and some fertilizer in it. I also wanted to show you guys my dahlias. So I'm hardening off my dahlias currently. I started these not all that long ago. So happy with how these are looking. So I've got blooms coming on some of them. So excited. Which one is this? Creme de Cassis. So this is the one that I'm the most excited about. It's a beautiful color. Really excited about it. And it's got a really nice thick stem on it. This one's doing really well. This one's got a really strong stem on it too. This is Fifi. Oh, I'm also really excited. I'm really excited about all of these. I've got one that was taking its sweet time and I thought that it had died, but it did come up. That is the Summit Festival dahlia. So I'm really excited to get all of these in here. This is the first day I'm hardening them off. They've kind of been sitting in our grow room a little bit too long. So you got to harden off anything that is being grown inside. You got to bring it outside, harden it off, and let it do its thing out here for a couple days. They're just not going to be used to the outdoor temperatures, and they're not going to be used to the UV rays. And so you bring them outside first day for a couple hours, put them in the shade. I'm probably going to leave them out all day in the shade because it's a really beautiful day out here. But they'll stay in shade. Zero sun is going to touch them. And then I'll bring them in tonight. And then tomorrow I will bring them back out and they'll go somewhere where they're going to get dappled sun. And then I'll bring them back in. And then I will bring them out the next day and they will get full morning sun. And then I will bring them back in and then they'll come back out. And then I can put them somewhere where they're going to get a bit of afternoon sun. And then I will leave them out at nighttime. She has itches. You good? Okay. And then once they're done with that, then I can go ahead and I can get them planted. So it's kind of a 4 or 5 day long process to get things hardened off, but it's so important. Otherwise, everything's gonna die. I also wanted to show you guys because I'm getting some questions about this. Let me grab them. So these are my coleus topiary. So I'm training some coleus. I've got a little bit of a new growth right there. Pop that off. trained coleus into topiary. So basically you take off all the lower leaves. I need to come in and tie them up. I just have the bamboo stakes in, and then you let this get nice and full, and you pinch it and you pinch it and you pinch it, and you let it just be a very compact ball. This is probably not the best variety because this is a large growing variety, but if you can get a smaller growing variety, and you can turn them into topiary, and then they stay nice and full at the very top. This one's gonna wanna really branch out and get quite large, so it's gonna be a lot of pruning. But I've got 2 of them. I've got one back there also, so I'm really excited to get these, like, I don't know, in a beautiful container. I wanna get them in something terracotta. I think it'll be really pretty. So I am quite happy with how the day went today. I think that the container turned out great. I got to show you guys some beautiful things in the garden and have just a mellow, I don't know, midday in the garden. Can't complain one bit. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for visiting our garden, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.